for the vegans out there, that's how your big harvesting machines murder countless doe. So that's what'll happen is like little baby deer fauna, like baby deer fawn or whatever you call them. They have freeze. So when they get scared, they see the big machine coming, they curl up in a ball, lay on the ground, and they freeze, and the machines kill them. And it just happens millions of times in these all sorts of crops that are being harvested for those pesky vegans. But anyway, man. Yeah, dude. So I want to dig into, I mean, you've obviously corrected a lot and seen a lot of improvement and everything. So I just want to start with like kind of a day in the life. Like what is, now that you've been settled in and you've kind of gotten past the tweaking phase, and we can dig into nuance and everything, but what's just like a normal day look like? And it's kind of like, you're a fan of Tim Ferriss. I'm a huge fan of Tim Ferriss, but built my whole company based on 4 Hour Work Week and Tribe of Mentors and all those books and everything. He's big. I'm big on daily habits. So I just love to see like what some of your, I call them non-negotiables. Like what are some of your non-negotiables for like daily wellness on a given day for you?
When I was like kind of in my darker days, which is kind of funny, I keep coming back to these, but I created a lot of rules, and I found that, you know, there's a balance of rules for me. If I create too many rules, I start to feel anxious. I start to feel kind of constricted. And so I've kind of found a sweet spot. So a day in my life right now, there's a couple non-negotiables. One, I really try to prioritize sleep. I think that sleep is such a big foundation for everything. And I also have come to the realization as I've gotten older, hopefully wiser, that there's a lot outside of my conscious awareness that happens when I'm sleeping, when I'm following certain habits that respect my diet and my routine, that empower me and give me better ability to make, you know, the right decisions. I kind of think about this, and I talk about this with, I have like 6 managers, and I do like 4 or 5 meetings a week with my different guys on my companies. And usually I'm like, guys, I need 4 or 5 hours of good core work time in a day to make it a very productive day. And if that means that I'm not the kind of person that's going to wake up at 6 a.m. to crank out 2 more hours of work. I would rather wake up at 8 a.m. if I didn't get enough sleep the night before, or I'm feeling a little, like right now, I'm kind of feeling a little bit under the weather. I'm going to sleep more. And I would rather just make a few of my best decisions knowing that I'm kind of rejuvenating my mind. So sleep is pretty non-negotiable. I've been writing a book on it right now, and the general consensus is 8.5 to 9 hours of sleep is what most people are going to need. Obviously, I'm not getting all of that in sleep, but that's what I try to block out in my day. So there's a good chunk of my day is out. I try to go to bed by 10. There was a period of time earlier this year in December and January when I was really pushing for like a 9 p.m. bedtime. I found it a little bit hard socially. And I found that when I created a rule that was that strict, it was really just, it was tough to kind of balance it. And I got anxiety from hanging out with people because it was
hard
like,
to be present.
I was trying to think about like, okay, I'm almost to my bedtime. I need to figure out how to get home and get to bed. So, you know, it's like, it's a lot like insomnia. In my experience, insomnia is when you stop giving stop caring that you're going to sleep well, you sleep well. And when you care a lot about it, you psych yourself out. And so, non-negotiables, 9 hours of bedtime, downtime.
So you like to be in bed for 9 hours, you're saying?
Yep.
Gotcha.
And the winter, I do about an hour longer. In the summer, I do less. I read some studies in Cell and kind of, I think it makes a lot of sense that we slept more in the winter months,
100%,
quite a bit more, you know, and then in the summer, we just were we were a lot less sleeping. We were just kind of like out and about, and the daylight was longer. So, 9 hours in bed. So I don't like to put a hard rule on sleep, because then that creates stress on sleep. And it's more like, look, I just have to have 9 hours where my eyes are closed. I'm down in the bed. The room's dark. I'm not getting interrupted or stimulated by anything digital.
Sure.
10 minutes of meditation in the morning. I took a transcendental meditation class last year here in Austin. I like the mantra transcendental meditation practice, but I use a process I follow, which is by John Yates. He wrote the book, The Mind Illuminated, which highly recommend if you've ever checked it out. It's really dope. So it's just a body scan, and then I just put on like noise canceling headphones, and then I just follow the breath. For me, following the breath the way he defines it is just paying attention to the area right below your nostrils where air is flowing in and out of your nose. And you just count those breaths, and you go like in 1, out 2, in 3, out 4, and you go up to 5. And then that's 1, and you do that up to 10, and then you restart. And all the while you're kind of consciously relaxing your body. And right now that's kind of the practice that I have with that. I try to drink like a half liter of water right when I wake up. I don't drink coffee. I quit coffee about 1.5 years ago. Coffee was another big anxiety trigger for me. I also noticed it really impacted my REM sleep and my ability to sleep and fall asleep. So for me, the half-life of caffeine affects my body pretty strongly. And so I've cut that out.
Dude, there's just to jump in here, I did a podcast a little while ago with Dr. Anthony J. He wrote the book Estrogeneration. He's buddies with Paul too. He's been on Paul's podcast and everything, but he did a DNA analysis for me on the podcast. And he was explaining to me that there are actual, you might want to look this up. It could be cool for you to shed some light on that. Certain people, like they talk about a fast metabolizer and slow metabolizer of caffeine. Everyone talks about this, but he's like, people are missing the point. He's like, yes, they're like the half-life of caffeine is like 6 hours or something like that. Some people are fast and slow metabolizers. He's like, but there are actual people that have a genetic reaction to coffee itself, like the coffee bean plant, not necessarily the caffeine. And he said it can trigger anxiety effects that do not dissipate for over 48 hours. So he's like, people could be having a full-blown anxiety reaction to drinking coffee with no caffeine registering in their blood whatsoever. So he was saying there are people that are daily coffee drinkers that it never goes away. That like he said there are some people where he's literally like cured their anxiety just by them giving up coffee. So that could be interesting.
Are you kind of a react in that category? You drink coffee?
I'm super lucky. I'm a fast metabolizer. I have no anxiety triggers. And dude, I've done like 100% strict carnivore experiments. When I first started working with Paul, I went 6 weeks strict, no coffee, no nothing. I've cut out coffee. Like I kind of treated coffee like alcohol, where I'm like, I just want to see that I can give this up for 30 days. So I've done that multiple times. And whether I reintroduce, take it away, I really noticed no difference. So I'm not really too worried about it. I think I got lucky there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting, man.
That is interesting. Yeah. So no coffee for me.
Yep.
I quit about a year and a few months ago. Let's see, drink water, meditate.
Yep.
I do neti pot. So when I was a kid, I actually went on Accutane. And that was an acne medication, and it dried the hell out of the inside of me. And I got sinus issues. And so when I was 30, I had a CT scan and I had all this scar tissue in my sinuses. And I write about this I talk about this in my book. I had to get sinus surgery when I was like 32, and they just went in and kind of cleaned everything out. Yeah. And so now I'm really cognizant of breathing through my nose. And so I rinse my nose every morning, and it just, that's like a morning routine. I have like just nasal rinse. Yeah. And so morning is like half a liter of water, go to the bathroom, wash my face, rinse my nose. I usually turn on an audiobook. That seems to be kind of like the thing, or a podcast. Sure. And I kind of listen to that for the 20 minutes. I'm kind of like putting on some face wash and moisturizer and rinsing. And then I sit down, meditate. And then I go to my computer and I look at the calendar, and I have a Trello board. I write down kind of the top 3 things I want to do on the Trello board. And we also work on Asana as a team project kind of management tool. And I go through those. And then I usually jump right into deep work. So for me, it's usually content creation. That's kind of like my highest leverage thing right now. Yeah. I'm with you, man. It's my favorite thing too. I love content creation. That's like, I could use you in Clovis, man, because I don't love the marketing. I'd be like your brother. I'm just like, you organize this stuff. Like what is this strategy thing? I like to make content. I want to talk to people. I want to make videos, but it's really interesting, man, because our routines are quite similar. Some of the things, what's also really interesting is I was a boxer in college. And I was getting just chronic sinus infections. So I was on like antibiotics all the time, kept getting sinus infections. And it was like
literally 5 years post boxing, like hadn't been in the boxing ring in 5 years, finally got a scan done like you did, and showed that a bone in my nose had broken and lodged in my sinus cavity, and I never knew it. So they were like, did you ever get hit in the face? And I was like, you mean 10,000 times? But which time are you referring to? You know, they're like, well, did you ever break your nose? I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure if I ever broke my nose. They're like, well, did you ever get a nosebleed? And I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. Is that a broken nose? Like, cause that's happened a lot, you know? So same thing. They went in, they had to like remove that bone. I did a sinuplasty or whatever they call it, did this whole surgery. And it was like it changed my life so much for the better, man. It was amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah. I usually fast. So right now I'm kind of playing with mushrooms a little bit. So
Cool.
I'll do cordyceps. Kyle Kingsbury got me on those Shroom Tech. Cordyceps.
Yep.
So I'm playing with those in Alpha Brain. So I take Alpha Brain and cordyceps in the morning. Cool. And then some mornings I take 4-sigmatic tea. They have like lion's mane. Yeah. So I'll take that.
I use Host Defense products.
Yeah, I like that too. The My Community stuff is awesome and all that stuff. First hour or two, I try to crank on just whatever core work. I would say every other day is content. I try to do content every day, but I have a pretty big team, so I have to kind of keep them organized and make sure I'm on top of like what their projects are. So usually I got to spend an hour just kind of thinking about who's doing what, and making sure that they're on the right tasks and like organized right, and that they're all kind of in the right sort of on the right battlefields, if you will. So I'm thinking about that too a lot. And I have a journal. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and my mind is just going. And it's not as much as it used to. I'm pretty good at just kind of like shutting off when I need to. But I was reading The Power of When. I don't know if you've ever read that book. It's by So I think it was in his book. He was talking about how when you're like half asleep, you're activating different parts of your mind, and like certain parts of your wake sleep cycle, you have more creative processes available. Yeah, and it's funny because I wake up sometimes and I'm like, I have all these thoughts about how to like run things and like new ideas, and then at this hour I'm like a lion chronotype typically.
Oh, cool.
So I'm like a morning person generally, although I don't really like to eat breakfast right away. And my mind. So I'll journal in the day, and then I usually do breakfast about 10:30, 11. So I'm up at like 7-ish, and then I'm working by like 8:30, and then I will get a couple hours in. I try to get 2 blocks of like something in, and then I take like a lunch or late breakfast, and then that's carnivore. That's like probably 60% of my food.